It's the GTN show. Welcome. This week we're going to be rounding up the results from the second half of the ITU Multisport World Championship Festival. We've got the World Triathlon Series from Stockholm, and we'll be having a quick look at the performances from the Ironman races around the world.
We also have batteries that run on your own sweat, a new Aero Road helmet, and some swimming paddles that can track your stroke power. Then there's a return of Coach's Corner, more Try DIY, a caption competition, and then we're going to be doing a Tri-Bar giveaway. This week, our news has been taken over by tech, as there just seems to be so much of it. A lot gets released ahead of the Ironman World Champs and Eurobike, so we've picked out a few of our favourites. Now imagine being able to put our own sweat and tears to good use. Well, researchers have been developing a technology that allows batteries to run off a sodium-based liquid, meaning we could do just that. And whilst it's still in development, these batteries could help to power watches and heart rate monitors. And I don't think we're going to see this technology anytime soon. It's still in its refinement stage, but it's great to see that science and technology being pushed. And I don't think Cy Richardson from GCN or myself are going to struggle powering these devices.
Power meters are nothing new to cycling, and they're starting to break into the running scene as well. But you could actually start to see them in swimming. There's a Finnish company called TrainSense that have just devised this smart paddle that fits in the palm of your hand like a finger paddle, and it measures the movement and force of your stroke. And then you can take that data and analyse it just as you would with any other power meter, either on your phone or desktop, and discuss that with your coach.
Nice, so you mean I could analyse my power with a different technique, for example?
You could even see how the force changes at different speeds.
Cool, I like the sound of that, that's good.
The only thing is, at the moment, it's just on pre-order, so we'll have to wait to see if we can try that one soon.
Well, Giro have just released their Vanquish aerodynamic road helmet, which you may have actually seen on a couple of teams at the Tour de France already, but now it's available for you guys too. And it's quite a versatile helmet. It lends itself both to a non-draft legal and draft legal triathlon. Without the visor, it becomes a classic road helmet with some sleek air vents. But with the visor, it becomes an aggressive and aerodynamic helmet.
Hi guys, I have got some great tech for you this week. Hopefully you don't mind it coming from a GCN presenter. I will confess up front, I've only done one training session today, which I know isn't very much by your standards, and I'm also wearing socks, which I also know you don't like, but hopefully you can take me seriously because this is good. I'm at the Shimano Ultegra press camp in Austria. I've been riding their 80/70 group set, which is Di2 shifting with hydraulic disc brakes. Loads there for triathletes, so check out the video on GCN if you want to have a look. But this, I thought, was right up your street. So this is the new Di2 TT shifter. Now, as with the rest of the Ultegra group set, it borrows all the tech from Dura-Ace. In fact, there's only a 10-gram weight penalty compared to its more expensive brother. But the reason I think this is so great is because there is just one shift button on each of the levers, and that's because it relies on the synchro shift function, which was launched last year. Now, synchro shift, if you remember, is where you basically set up your Di2, you can switch it on or off, but it will basically allow the Di2 to control your front derailleur. So you only need two buttons, one to shift up, one to shift down, and it sounds complicated, but it's not. It works, and it works very effectively. So all you have to do is get your head down, pedal, and just press up or down for your shifts. There you go.
Now it's time for the giveaway, and this week we have these carbon fiber lightweight aero bars from Controltech. Now you may be wondering why they're so short, and that's because they're designed for draft legal racing. Now the rules state that the tri-bars can't extend beyond the brake levers, but they're still enough that you can get into a nice, fast, aerodynamic position, as you see some of the elites using. And it's perfect timing ahead of the ITU Age Group Sprint World Champs, where it's going to be draft legal racing for the first time.
It is, and Controltech have very kindly given us 5 to give away. So if you want a pair, well, you can enter by clicking the link in the description below. Good luck.
We have the results in from last week's poll, where we asked you what level of triathlon experience you have.
Self-confessed addict came in at 12%.
And seasoned triathlete had 18%.
It was 31% for triathlon newbie.
And a lost GCN subscriber came out with 37%, but hopefully we'll convert all of you to self-confessed addicts soon.
Well, this week it's going to be a tough one. It's your favourite triathlon discipline. A being the swim, B the bike, C the run, and then D the transition.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. I think I'd probably go for bike. What's yours?
It's tough. I think that the run might just win. As much as I love cycling, especially when the weather's good, it's just the cleaning the bike afterwards.
Yeah, it's pretty grim. And don't forget to enter that poll. Just click above Heather's head here. Now it's time for this week's caption competition. And last week we had a rather embarrassing photo of myself with my wetsuit on back to front, and we had loads of great comments coming in. Andrew Grenville said, "Heather, your swimming is so fast I had to turn myself inside out to keep up."
Thanks, Andrew.
If only it was true, hey?
I know, I like that one, but our winner is Barry Lip. He says, "Mark, when I said zip on the front will make you go faster, I was talking about your wheels."
Very good. And Barry, if you just get in touch on Facebook to claim your swim cap.
So this week's caption competition is a picture of Fabian Cancellara running with Olympic medalist Nicola Spirig. Now apparently he's just done his first triathlon.
Right, and to kick things off, I'm going to go with Fabian, maybe you should speak to Chris Froome for some running advice. And remember to leave your captions in the comment section below.
Now it's time for Try DIY. Starting us off, it's Daniel Burgess, who is halfway through making his own rear disc wheel.
Yeah, and some companies do make these aero disc wheel covers, but he's literally making his from scratch, which is really impressive.
Yeah, something that I think, well, I'm definitely going to leave to the experts. Next up, we have Asha Fenwick with a broken seat post clamp.
Yeah, I think she's maybe over-tightened it, but she clearly needs to ride her bike, and she's literally used some DIY products. She's got these ratchets to basically hold the seat post in place.
Great improvisation by Asha. And now I think it's one of yours,
Yeah,
Mark.
I actually took this photo this weekend. I was riding with my friend Seb Rogers, and on his hack bike he's got these stereo jacks taped onto his seat post so that he can literally just plug in his light, his rear light, so he's got a nice quick and easy attachment.
It's a different idea for sure. Well, we want to see more of your ideas, so using the hashtag TryDIY, send them into Twitter and also onto our Facebook page.
Now for the race results, and over in Penticton at the ITU World Long Course Champs in the men's field, it was Josh Amberger that led the swim, the bike, and unfortunately he was passed partway through the run by Lionel Sanders, who took the win.
Well, a similar situation in the women's race. Hella Fredriksson led for pretty much all of it until Sarah Crowley came through on the run to take the win in the women's. Over in Stockholm, it was a penultimate race of the World Triathlon Series and a fifth win for Flora Duffy. Second place went to Jess Lermont and third to Ashley Gentle.
And over in the men's, it was Johnny Brownlee that took the win, and Christian Blumfold took second in a sprint finish with Pierre Lecour that took third. In Ironman 70.3 Zellamsey Kaprun, in the men's field, it was Niels Fromhold that led for a majority of the race, but Boris Stein actually passed him on the run to take the win. And then in the women's race, it was won by Laura Philipp.
Well, over in the Ironman 70.3 Vichy, the men's event was won by Frederick van Lierde and the women's was won by Jocelyn Macaulay. Now for comments of the week, and we've chosen a few of our favourites from How to Run a Fast 5K with GCN's Dan Lloyd.
And to kick things off, we have a comment here from Humbabe95, and they've said, "That's amazing. How does Dan run without hamstrings?" A little bit harsh.
It is, but Dan, don't worry, we've got a nice one here from Harry, who says, "Came here because I thought it would be funny to watch a cyclist try to run. Bear with me, it gets nicer. Was a little disappointed because Dan's got decent form."
And finally, Liam said, "I bet Chris Froome has subscribed to his channel. He could really use some help on the running side of things."
Well, please keep leaving your comments on our videos because we love reading them. Martin Driscoll has sent in this video of himself swimming. Now, the first thing that strikes me is the fact his feet and hips are quite low in the water, but that's actually caused by a problem at the front of his stroke. So when he's breathing, he's lifting his head up quite high, which basically is causing his legs and hips to drop. But there's another thing I noticed. It's quite a positive thing that his stroke rate is high, so he's moving his arms at a good pace through the water, but that is also because of a slight problem. Now, his hand comes into the water and goes straight down. There's no catch phase in his stroke. Now, the catch is the really important part where you get hold of the water and then use that to propel you throughout. So a great drill to work on this problem, it's called catch up. Start with your hands side by side, stretched out in front with your head down so you've got a good body position. Now, it's important that you take one stroke and then the next. The idea being you can focus purely on one arm at a time and this part of the stroke, which is your catch. So once you've got that catch of the water, you can pull it all the way through and that should help propel you through the water much faster. So hopefully, Martin, that will help you and anyone else with a similar problem. Now, we'd love to see any other technique difficulties you might have with any of the 3 sports in triathlon. So please send in your videos using the hashtag Coaches Corner to Twitter and Facebook.
Now it's time for our GTN Pain Cave, where we ask you to send in photos of your indoor training setup, or your pain cave as we like to call it.
Well, starting us off, we have Try Russell, who has his treadmill, his bike trainer, but also a kid's treadmill and a kid's bike.
That's one way of combining your babysitting and your training. And also he's got a rowing machine there, so really cool setup.
Comprehensive.
Yep, and here we have a photo from Torben.
Have you just seen what I've seen? I didn't notice that earlier. He is watching the GTN show whilst training. I love that.
Avid fan. I don't blame him. Really cool setup. He's got the Tax Neo turbo trainer and a treadmill so you can do his brick sessions. Really cool.
Who have we got here? Giorgio Cecchinato.
Yeah.
And he has got, what, 4 bicycles. I think he's just showing off here. This is an amazing setup.
Don't forget the scooters as well.
2 of them.
2 little scooters, and he's even got a device to weigh his bikes from.
I'm guessing he's probably living somewhere quite hot because there's an air conditioning machine in front of it.
It's definitely not the UK, that's for sure. And finally, we have a photo in from Siddharth, and he has his 3 bikes and a treadmill. And it's actually, he's got the full setup. He's got a road bike, TT bike, and a mountain bike.
And spare wheels on the wall. What more do you need?
And you can send in more of your indoor training setups by using the hashtag GTN Pain Cave on Twitter, or send them in on Facebook. Coming up on the channel this week, tomorrow we have how to bike like a pro.
Friday we have top 10 open water tips for beginners.
And on Saturday we have a pro bike with Kim Morrison.
Sunday it's open water swim recce.
Monday we have 8 key stretches for triathletes.
And Tuesday, how to run with a heart rate monitor.
And on Wednesday we are back here again for the GTN show. Now remember, you can enter our Controltech Tri-Bar giveaway by clicking on the link in the description below.
And if you want to subscribe to GTN, just click on the globe, it's free. And if you want to watch a video on indoor versus outdoor running, click down here.
And to see our swimming, tumble turn or flip turn video, just click down here.
Squeezing in as much as we possibly can for you guys here at Eurobike this year. Coming up is a whole host of new tech which we've found in the last couple of days. Couple of updates to some of the tools over at Park Tools, including this, which stands out deliberately so. These are Torx wrenches as opposed to the Allen keys here, in green, just to make it far easier for the mechanics to know which ones they're going to grab when they're working at the shop. So we could do with some of them in the GTN set, and we could definitely also do with this in the workshop, I reckon. That is a bottle opener, new from Park Tools this year. We've got the dummy hub, as they call it here. It's a chain keeper. And over here, another new addition. Beer tray. I have got to get me one of these. Controltech have got quite a novel design here at Eurobike called the Cougar PCS, which stands for Pure Cockpit System. It takes away all of the cables from display and puts them internal, and this is compatible with almost all bikes. So the cables go from your shifters in through the bars, out through the back of them, into the stem, and then down inside the fork steerer tube. They've got a special headset which removes the need for the expander bolt inside the steerer tube. Then the cables come out of the back of that and through the frame, or of course if you've got disc brake mounts, they come out through the bottom of the forks. Now I've designed it in such a way that the steering is still incredibly free, and I have to say the shifting feels very crisp too. Ceramic Speed are a company who are all about reducing friction on your bike wherever they possibly can, and their latest way of doing that is through UFO drip. They're saying it's not a lubrication for your chain, but rather the world's first ever bottled chain coating. Now they've done some testing through Friction Facts, which is a company they acquired late last year, and they found that this is the fastest application for a drivetrain that you can currently get. At least half a watt less at 250 watts friction than any other lube, and if you using WD-40 steel side, you're actually 3 watts slower at 250 watts than this particular one. And it is extremely dry, so as you can see, rubbing it here, absolutely nothing is coming off my hands. A few benefits to that. Firstly, your drivetrain will stay clean for a very long time. Secondly, that will mean in turn that your drivetrain lasts a lot longer. There's much less wear and tear, and it also means that there is far less friction accumulated during the ride. So in some real world testing that they did, what they found was that other lubricants actually increase the friction of your drivetrain throughout the ride where it attracts dirt. Because this one doesn't, it actually got slightly quicker, which is very interesting. Also interesting is the noise test that they've done. So if you listen to this, it's not exactly quiet, is it? But apparently that is not a bad thing at all. Now you, probably like me, always thought that the quietest drivetrains were probably the most efficient, but in terms of testing, they've actually done some decibel tests and found that the quietest ones are often the slowest. Eyewear giants Oakley are now making helmets. They've got 3 new helmets on display here at Eurobike. This is the Arrow 3, which is their ventilated option. They've also got the Arrow 5, which is their aero road option, and the Arrow 7 TT, which is of course for triathlons and time trials, etc. Now of course optics integration is one of the keys for Oakley when they started designing their own helmets, and one of the ways that they have achieved that is through the BOA system, which you can see here, and it's very thin nylon thread, which you'll hopefully have a close-up of just now. Firstly, they say that it's much more comfortable, helps the fit of the helmet, but also it means there's much less bulk on the side of your head, so the arms of your shades nestle neatly on the side of your head. Around about 12 months ago, we took a first look at FSA's brand new K-Force Wii electronic group set. A few small updates to that, including Bluetooth compatibility and a new app. But I'm not going to dwell too much on this, because what I want to show you today is this. This is their K-Force Wii electronic group set with hydraulic disc brakes. Now I understand that they were especially concerned with making sure that the shifter here felt very good when you're riding along, and it was quite ergonomic and quite minimalist. And I think they certainly achieved that there. The carbon lever is also reach adjustable with this tiny little screw here, which is very easy to access. And along with the ergonomics of the shifters, they are also putting a lot of thought into the heat dissipation at the disc rotors, etc. as well. So this inner part of the rotor is large, which helps, and also the part at the back of the caliper here is actually integrated with the brake pads, which also helps in things as well. They've also got mechanics in mind, both professional and at home. We've got a bleed port, which is top facing here at the levers. We've also got a top facing one here at the rear caliper, and you can actually remove this cable here if you need to without the use of any tools. New from Perlizumi are their PRO Leader V4 shoes. Their lightest, stiffest and most ventilated shoes to date. The upper they call their second skin, and this is actually only 1mm in terms of its thickness. It actually wraps around the carbon sole, making it slightly different to most shoes out there. That allows them to get a much lower stack height, so that is only 5mm on this shoe. The bling bit, which then covers the upper that goes around the carbon sole, is electroplating, and that certainly adds a bit of sparkle, doesn't it? Weight of these in a size 3 is 265 grams. It's another chain keeper. This is from Feedback Sports, and they acquired this design from Butter, and I think you'll agree it's one of the neatest chain keepers out there. And handily for Cy Richardson, they've actually made some key bullet points as to why chain keepers are so necessary. Retains chain tension after rear wheel is removed. Great for cleaning, maintenance and travel. There you go, Cy. This bike has received one of the prestigious Eurobike Gold Awards for the startup category. So their name is Rondo, they are from Poland, and these are their brand new gravel bikes. Are unique from the fact that they have got a twin-tip patented fork design, which allows you to change the height of the forks at the front, which gives a slightly different ride feel when you're out, but also accommodates different sizes of tyres and even wheel sizes as well. And I particularly like their own hubs here, which again are very bling. And then if we switch around, this is in fact not rideable. It's a 3D printed bike, so they're in the final parts of developing their full-on road bike, and it is a full-on road bike, disc brake equipped. But if you have a look around through here, an enormous amount of clearance, and the same goes for the chainstays down here. So you can put 650B wheels on this, should I say, with 2-inch slick tyres. That's very versatile as a bike. Where do we even begin with Campagnoli, the Italian group set manufacturer? Not content with releasing just one new group set, they've got 6 new group sets on display at Eurobike. This is the brand new Super Record EPS disc brake group set. They worked on the hydraulics and the reservoir with hydraulic specialist Magura, but it is a 100% Campagnolo product. They've got reach adjustability here at the brake levers. They've kept the feel of the hoods, etc. quite similar. It's only 8mm difference versus the standard rim brake model, and they've also got a screw on the inside here which adjusts how the brakes actually feel, so whether you like them slightly more spongy or more solid once they do grab onto the brake. They say that since they've been developing this for a long time with purely road in mind, it means that they haven't had to compromise in terms of bringing some of the mountain bike technology over, which apparently some other companies have done. Over here they have got the Bora 135 and 50mm wheels to go with the disc brakes. They've redesigned these completely versus the rim brake model, so there are twice as many spokes on the disc side on the front wheel as on the non-disc side, but the opposite is true here at the rear wheel. Twice as many spokes here because there's more torque going through your chain in the cassette and therefore the hub on that side, and you don't do as much braking on the left. No longer is there a Veloci group set. That has now been replaced by the Centaur at the lower end of their group set market. 11 speed and accommodates 11 up through to 36 teeth cassette, and if that all wasn't enough, in about a week's time they are even releasing the second version of the My Campy app, so you'll be able to download that on iOS and Android. Look have updated their ever popular Keo Blade carbons. They've increased the surface area of these pedals by 20%, giving you a bit more stability, and have managed to reduce the weight somehow. They were only 100 grams for the titanium spindled version, these down to 95. We're with the KTM Revelator, which was last year a concept bike, but now in full production. One of the interesting things about this bike is that the internal cable routing actually goes inside the fork steerer tube and down to the front disc brake there. So all adjustments to your stem height must be done by changing the stem, because there's no cutting of that steerer tube. And they've gone with the lower seat stage, which is of course something we've seen on a lot of modern aero bikes. Well, hopefully you have enjoyed that just as much as I did going around the show. If you did, please give it a thumbs up just down below. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so by clicking on the globe right now. And if you missed part 1 of our general tech, you can find that down here, or indoor training tech is all just here.
From the Bealach Navah in the Scottish Highlands, after 3,000 kilometers in 20 days, welcome to the GCN show.
Welcome to the GCN show. This week we are going to give you 3 reasons why you will one day be riding an e-bike.
And 2 reasons why you won't.
We've got some great tech from the world's biggest bike show, Eurobike, some terrible tech in hack/bod, and all of our other usual segments too.
Yeah, we've also got to do a big welcome back to John Chocolate Voice Bevan, fresh from completing the Oak Route. John?
That is one chocolate snore right there.
John! John!
This week, in the world of cycling, we were reminded that watching bikes is just great.
It's just great.
We'll kick off with this from Nikolai Rogatkin going absolutely nuts at the Red Bull District Ride with a 1440.
All the speed he can muster out of that row in the 1440, and he lands it! What? Oh, that was even smoother than last night.
Whoa.
1440 is 4
I lost count, mate. Then there was also this, which was the latest round of the Red Hook Crit series. It lived up to its hardcore reputation. You'll remember that these bikes have no brakes and the inability to freewheel. And there was indeed a huge pile-up on the closing stages of the men's race, involving many of the favourites, including the rider that actually filmed this, Colin Strickland of Intelligentsia Racing, who was the series leader going into Barcelona. We'll have more from that later in the show.
We also learned through my wanderings at Eurobike that it is inevitable that one day, fairly soon, we will all be riding e-bikes. Or will we?
Well, reason number one why we will is the fact that the latest e-bikes, well, they look like this.
I also particularly like the look of the new Focus Project Y.
Yeah.
More information will be out on that in an upcoming video, but that, like the Old Bear, is particularly light, just 12.5 kilograms, which is probably roughly what the top-end road bikes were 30 years or so ago.
Yeah, God, it does look good, doesn't it? There is a problem though, I think, and that is using e-bikes for sporting reasons, okay? There had to be a hiccup. And the reason I say this is because I had a message on Facebook over the weekend from a chap called Paul Taylor, and he just lost a KOM to a person who had openly admitted to using an e-bike to do so. Yeah, now I appreciate, as problems go, it's probably relevant only to a minority of people, but leaving aside KOMs, what about just on a group ride? You can imagine e-bikes making a cycling club a little bit tense, and in fact, chain gangs, pace lines, whatever you want to call them, unworkable.
Yeah, well, maybe we should have some unwritten rules about this. No, let's not do that.
There has to be another way. Let's at least write them down this time.
Reason number 2 then. Transport, and this is the big one for me at least. Instead of thinking of an e-bike as a replacement to your beautifully simple road bike, think of it as a replacement to your car, or a quiet, easy and convenient motorbike.
Yeah, agreed. 100% in fact. I actually tried a Trek Supercommuter 8 when I was at a DT Swiss the other day. It was the personal bike of their vice president.
Hey, Si, wait.
He uses it to commute 30 kilometres to work each day and then 30 kilometres home. Some days he wears jeans and a hoodie and it takes him about 45 minutes. Other days he presses a little bit harder on the pedals, arrives a couple of minutes earlier and has a great workout. And you think, wow, that just makes so much sense.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Does he know that you stole his bike?
He does now.
Oh dear.
Go! I'm alright, Si, I'm alright.
Well, there are also some great e-bikes out there for carrying things around as well. For example, another one that I spotted at Eurobike from Turn.
For some people, e-bikes are about going further and faster, but for most people, they are really about convenience, and that is what Turn have turned their attention to with this new model called the GSD, which apparently stands for Get Stuff Done. At least that's what I've been told to say. They are deeming this cargo capacity on a city footprint, and that's why they've got the city bike behind. Plenty of storage room on this thing for your weekly shop or your weekly drinks there at the front.
Are you sure that would last you a week?
Oh yeah, there's more storage at the back of that bike as well. It was great. Now, one of the downsides I found, though, is that e-bikes can set you back a pretty penny. This one, for example, from Bugatti will be, at a minimum, €65,000.
Oh, what?
And if you want the very top of the range one, double it, €130,000.
And what exactly do you get for your extra 65,000
Well,
euros?
I did quiz the gentleman, and all he could say was that it would be lighter. For example, some lighter cranks.
A lighter crank,
Yeah.
65,000
Sounds reasonable to me. This one, though, from Cowboy, that was on TechCrunch very recently, sounds promising, because one of their key development criteria is that it should have a very low price point.
Yeah, well, that is important. That is important. Right then, finally then, reason number 3 why it's almost inevitable that you will end up riding an e-bike, and that is that they can just be great fun. In fact, we learnt in the GCN show just the other week that the majority of you use cycling as a means of escape. That is why you ride. And so you could then imagine having a little bit of extra power at your disposal through having an e-bike just means it's easier to escape. You can escape more. You just get more of what you want.
Well, I was about to say, you and Matt got a tweet, didn't you? From
We did.
Stan
We did
at
indeed.
the weekend on exactly this subject. He wrote, Road Gospel Pass Circuit from Hay on Wye on a Giant E+1. Thanks again to you both. Incidentally, exactly the same bike that Matt used when he was racing you at the Dolomites recently.
Wasn't much of a race, was it, at the end of the day? No. That Gospel Pass, actually, a great ride here in the UK. It's also got another name. It's also called Lord Hereford's Knob.
It's now time for cycling shorts.
It can be a complicated and expensive task to close roads for races these days, and that is particularly relevant at the moment here in the UK. So perhaps then the answer is racing on multi-storey car parks. We have seen it before in both London and Adelaide, but on the 26th of November it will be coming to Christchurch in New Zealand, courtesy of the Car Park Cannonball. And I think this could take things up a level or two, or maybe even 8.
It might be expensive though. If it's anything like paying for car parking around here,
Yeah.
blocking out an entire 8-storey car park, I don't know what the entry fees would be. Anyway, riders will be competing in 2-up races from the bottom to the top, and the event organisers say that the atmosphere will be heightened by live music and commentary throughout proceedings. How do you think we get on, mate?
I think we'd get smashed.
No, I mean in the race.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I've had at least 8 mineral awards myself.
Right, news from the Vuelta. Really annoying and quite frankly awful news actually from the Vuelta. Team Aqua Blue Sport reported last week that their team bus had been vandalised, set on fire basically, which is pretty cruel,
Yeah.
particularly given that they're riding their first Grand Tour, so something to be celebrated. But the flip side is that a number of other teams offered to step in and help them out, which is great. Not least Jack Janssen van Rensburg, got it, who tweeted this. He said, basically, they're welcome to come and use their team bus showers after the stage if they would like.
Do you remember what the team bus showers are like on Dimension Data's bus?
We should have a look, mate.
Nice and spacious. Want to peek inside?
Not bad.
No.
I'd take them up on that offer.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Although they didn't need to, because in the end they were helped out by a Portuguese continental team, LA Alemanos Metalusa, who donated their bus for the remainder of the Vuelta, which is a very cool gesture indeed.
That is actually great, isn't it? That is great. Right, now it's not just the Vuelta on at the moment, not by a long shot actually, but the Tour of Britain is going on. It's got some great racing and a really stacked field, but actually it seems like British cuisine is dividing the
It
riders.
is. Yes, so for starters,
Hey!
let's have a look at this tweet from Taylor Finney, who, as you can see, effectively decided to blame British cuisine for his first day performance.
Controversial, Taylor. And Alex Dowsett, meanwhile, tweeted this, saying that he'd introduced his team, which is Movistar, to sticky toffee pudding one evening. Yeah, British cuisine for the win, he says, with a strong arm thing. Yeah. Do you think Taylor's problems were just that he was too full?
Yeah, quite possibly. He probably had porridge and a full English breakfast before stage 1.
Up next, what does Chris Froome think about while he's on the toilet?
Maybe he thinks about sticky toffee pudding whilst he's on the toilet, who knows. Over to the ultra endurance world now, and the race around Ireland took place last week, and the winner was Nicole Rice. In doing so, she became the first female winner of the event, and she was a full 12 hours ahead of her closest challenger and male category winner, Valerio Zamboni.
Remarkable performance, isn't it? She rode 2,212 kilometres in 112 hours.
Just all you need to do is the maths to know how much that must have hurt.
19 kilometres now.
Yeah, sticking with the ultra endurance well, we should check back in with our good friend Mark Beaumont. He's had another very tough week, facing a lot of very harsh headwinds. So if you do get a chance to send him your messages on social media, I'm sure he would appreciate that as he closes into the finish. Or indeed, if you want to support him on the roadside, if you're lucky enough to be nearby.
Yeah, don't just get the chance. Make the effort. Send him some love.
That first sort of couple of days coming through Alaska were a mere warm-up to what was to come, because in my mind I had it the other way around. Alaska was hilly and then it all got pretty straightforward, but in actual fact when you're covering 240 odd miles a day, it's all pretty big, it's all pretty hilly. Physically, obviously 16 hours a day on the bike is big in itself, but when you were putting in over 3,000 metres climbing back to back to back, it's funny because some days I was totally in the zone and dealt with it, and then the next day I would drop off and really struggle. And after the first week in stage 3, I've lost about 60 miles. It's sometimes harder to deal with that. My support team are very, very good at reassuring me to keep thinking about the long game, thinking about the averages. But then for 5 days in a row to be not making target, it's hard to not start questioning myself on the bike. You know, I know the conditions are tough, but you know, is it also me sort of fading a bit? The emotional roller coaster can kind of happen regardless. Yeah, trust me, when you're 55, 56 days in, having ridden 13,000 odd miles, you end up in some pretty weird mindsets. You just need to commit to not stopping.
The Vuelta is into its last week now, and Chris Froome and Team Sky seem to have everything pretty much under control. At the final rest day, he had over a minute's advantage over his nearest rival, who happened to be Vincenzo Nibali. And with a 40-kilometre time trial, which will actually have been completed by the time this video goes live, he will likely, I say likely, have increased that margin quite significantly.
Kiss of death, Si.
We had to try to predict something, didn't we?
Miguel Angel Superman Lopez, though, has started to live up to his nickname, hasn't he?
He
A
has,
second
indeed.
place on stage and 2 stage wins. He's propelled himself up to 6th place in the general classification on that rest day. But it's a bit of a shame that he lost some of that time in the early opening flat stages.
Well, you say that, mate, but he is not going to be concerned at all, because his attack when he left Contador and Bardet on the climb to Sierra Nevada earns him this week's Wattage Bazooka!
Well done, Miguel.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this week's viewer Wattage Bazooka goes to Aryan Murali on the Palamalai climb in southern India. With this section, it goes to 23%.
Ooh. I tell you what, I don't know who was actually riding up that climb, but they deserve the Wattage Bazooka. They were flying.
If you know someone that deserves it for next week, don't forget to get in touch on social media with the hashtag Wattage Bazooka. Now, the Dutch dominated proceedings at the Bulls Rental Ladies Tour. They filled all 3 spots on the final podium, but dominantly standing at the very top was Annemiek van Vleuten.
That's right, she led from the opening stage to the finish, having won the prologue time trial. She was pushed pretty hard, wasn't she, on that final, very long 155-kilometre stage, but ultimately she did finish with a relatively comfortable margin of victory. She had 43 seconds over Anna van der Breggen.
The Dutch are going to be quite hard to beat in the women's race at the World Championships.
Seemingly
soon,
so.
aren't they? Right, the Tour of Britain also kicked off on Sunday, and Daniele Bonatti, the Italian from Movistar, seemed to have his hardest stage before the race even kicked off. Have a look at this for a travel day.
Wow.
An amazing use of emoticons as well. Probably the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, I tell you then, I am concerned though that he took to Twitter sometime, presumably having got to his hotel at 11:30 in the evening, and that would have taken him a long time to craft that tweet.
Yes, and that would have been 12:30 his normal time in Europe.
Exactly. And unsurprisingly, perhaps, he didn't feature
No,
in that first stage, really. Although, what a stage it was. One of the closest sprint finishes I think we've ever seen. They did eventually manage to pick Caleb Ewan out as the winner, as those first 3 guys hit the line.
They were very
at the
close
same time. Yeah.
And we've literally just finished watching stage 2 whilst filming the GCN show here. Edvald Boasson Hagen crossed the line first, but as we said, he did veer ever so slightly in that final sprint, and we are speculating he may be relegated.
Ever so slightly, Dan. It'd be like me starting to talk to you here and then finishing off my piece of camera somewhere over here by the coffee machine, basically.
You are disqualified, son. Don't come back.
What do you mean? It's relegated to last position.
Right, we also mentioned earlier that the latest round of the Red Hook Crit has taken place over the last week, round 3 in Barcelona. Ash Dubin won the women's race with a daring overtaking manoeuvre in the final corner. And we say daring because, to reiterate, these bikes have no brakes and no free wheel.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, that is probably better than no brakes and a free wheel.
No, to be fair, I say daring, just taking to the start line.
Definitely, yep.
The men's race was won by David Van Aert of the Berlin-based 8 Bar team.
Oh, are they Matt's mates? Fixie mates?
No, those are not Matt's fixie mates. Matt's got other fixie mates from the Schindelhauer team.
Well, he out-sprinted Davide Vigano, and he used to ride for Team Sky, so that just goes to show you the kind of level these races are.
Okay, you'd be forgiven for thinking that you've had your fill of tech this week, but no, we've got some more for you. Tech of the week this week is sure to stir up the indoor training market. Wattbike have just launched a new product called the Atom. Okay, so Wattbike has been around for a while now with their famous static bike, but they've updated this latest model to take advantage of smart technology. That's so that you can use it with the likes of Zwift or Trainer Road, for example, as well as linking up to your Strava. That's pretty cool. You can stay indoors, but people think maybe you've ridden outdoors. Okay, so all of the best bits of the previous generation are still on this unit. So that's the power meter, which is accurate to plus or minus 2%, plus the power settings itself from 0 to 2000 watts. I think that's suitable for me. Plus it looks great. What more can we say about that? So last week, Dan and I were actually at Eurobike, checking out loads of cool tech. For me, the best bit of tech I saw, it's a tough one, but it's probably the UFO chain drip from Ceramic Speed. Why? keeps your chain nice and clean, it gives you a little bit of extra free speed. I'm liking that.
Competition time now. We've got 3 great prizes for you from Controltech, a company with a long history in the sport. I remember running one of their stems on my mountain bike in the mid-90s, and they've made somewhat of a resurgence with some fantastic looking products.
They have. So up for grabs, literally, we've got 3 handlebars. So Darren is modelling very well, in fact, the Time Mania, which you'll notice has a titanium central section, unidirectional carbon drops. The idea being that it blends the properties of both those materials together in one handlebar, which is cool. And then there's this one, which is my favourite, the Cougar Carbon Air handlebar. I do like the sound of that, Dan. Now, it's compatible with the new Di2 junction box, which fits in your bar end plug there, but it's also compatible with Control's Pure Cockpit system. So you'll notice there's a bunch of holes on the back here, so you can route your cables internally and even out through into Controltech's own compatible stem, and then out into their fork as well, and from the fork straight into the frame, so no more external cables.
Yeah, saw that Eurobike, looked very good indeed.
Yeah.
And finally, we have this, which is the EXL gravel bike specific carbon bar with flared drops, and as you can see, quite a pronounced rise as well. Great for people like me who are older and want to slam stem still whilst remaining comfortable. As ever, if you would like to enter this competition, you can do so by following the link which is in the description below this video. And all that leaves us to say is good luck.
Well, not only that, but make sure you enter the other competitions that we've got on the channel as well. We've got the lightweight unboxing, and we've also got the physique unboxing as well. So the links to those competitions are also in the description. That's a lot of chances to win.
Hack / bodge of the week now. Did you get it right?
I think so.
We'll kick off with one from Sean Gannon. Now, I've seen some carbon repair in my time, Si.
Have you?
I've never seen one like
Really?
this. Not much, actually. Sellotape has been used to gaffer this all together. I would suggest that the owner doesn't ride that anymore.
That is a bodge. Definitely don't fix your bike with sellotape. Anywhere at all. Tell you what, mate, if you want a Rhino bike made out of a suit of armour, that's a hack right there. Look at that, sent in by Daniel Burgess, spotted in central London. That is definitely a hack.
Can I say something?
Can?
I don't want a Rhino bike made out of suit of armour. So,
Oh.
there we go. This is a hack. I love this one. From Peter Dixon, he's used his dog lead as a bike lock on his roof rack so that he can go into the local petrol station.
And then he shut it in the door. Genius!
Yeah, wrapped it round, shut it in the door. I mean, you know.
Grade A hack. All you need is a pair of scissors to cut it loose.
It might discourage someone, mightn't it?
It would.
For a few seconds.
Yeah, fair play, Peter. I think that's a great one. This one sent in by Connor Kohler. He said it's a home-built bike rack for his college dorm. Looks pretty nice. Yeah.
Hack, yeah, like that.
Great stuff. You can invite plenty of people back to your dorm, Connor, I'm sure, with that work of art.
Yeah, and then we have got this from Tomi Numella.
Whoa.
That's kind of like a bodged recumbent, isn't it? Saddle in the middle of the 2 wheels, pedals at the front. I'd imagine you'd do an endo pretty easily on that.
No one's going back to his college dorm. Look at that. That's terrible. Right, finally then, we got this from Lee from the Wind. I don't even know. I mean, that's obviously a saddle, but I don't quite know how it's a saddle or why it's a saddle, Dan. Should we say that's a
bodge?
Well,
Finish on a bodge.
Maybe they've reinvented the seat and
Well,
actually
I
it's
would like to
incredibly
try
comfortable.
that and see if it is comfortable, I must admit. If you've got a saddle like this and you'd like to see Si or I testing it out, please send it into the Global Cycling Network office. And if you've got any more hacks or bodges, all you've got to do is use the hashtag GCNHack on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram.
Keep them coming. It's time now for the weekly caption competition. Your chance to get your hands on a GCN water bottle. That's right. We'll give you a photo, you caption it, we choose the best one. It's as simple as that. If you've not seen it before, this is how it works. This is last week's photo. And the winner of a GCN water bottle is Patrick Sheard, Vincenzo Nibali.
Yeah, I'll give it to you, Patrick. If you write your address down and send it to us on Facebook, we will send it out. But that's got to be the end of these fish puns. I'm absolutely fed up with hearing you coming out with fish puns and seeing them in the comments and seeing messages on Facebook as well.
I thought you were going to do one last fish pun.
No. Meanwhile, this week's caption photo is this one of Team JLT's Russ Downing at the recent Tour of Britain. I shall start you off. That's definitely a swipe left. Some youngster at the office had said, I don't even know what it means. Anyway, if you've got a better caption, please leave it in the comment section down below. We shall choose a winner this time next week.
Puns normally fare quite well. Before we get to what's coming up on the channel this week, let's take a quick second to just go through some of the belting comments that you've been leaving under our videos. As always, this one I particularly liked under your indoor training video from Eurobike. Jay Johnny, whose avatar looks like a very bronzed person standing on a beach, has said, so how do you get a tan at the same time as training indoors?
Top of his list of concerns, obviously, that.
Isn't there like a pill you can take now to make you tan?
Well, you could put your indoor trainer outdoors.
Tell you what, mate, that's genius. I can't come back from that. So I'm just going to change the subject. Porak Tobask says, under another of your Eurobike videos, in fact,
Been kicked out. Not because I've done anything wrong, you understand, but because day one of the show is actually now finished, disappointingly.
At the same time, 5 people enter to visit Eurobike.
Yeah, I think they were VIPs.
Ah, were they? Okay,
Yes.
Special after hours.
From the same point in that video, Pumpkin Seed put 9:57. My expression of why does the video end already? Well, I've got some very good news for you, Pumpkin Seed. There is more Eurobike stuff coming up on the channel this week, starting straight away, in fact, on Wednesday, where we will have weird and wonderful tech from Eurobike. We will also have another video that day, Zwift for beginners. More Eurobike tech on Thursday. That day it's going to be an e-bike special, so quite appropriate for today's GCN show.
Yeah, a bit more detail.
Yeah, and on the very same day, we also got our latest Cycle Rivalries video. And then on Friday, it's Ask GCN Anything.
Yeah, Saturday, it's quite a monumental pro bike, actually. It'll be the last ever Alberto Contador pro bike, because obviously this is his retirement race, the Vuelta, and this is his retirement bike. A very beautiful bike from Trek, no less. And then on Sunday, we've got another unboxing, a great one this time. Do you think I can say what it is?
I don't know.
It's the new Watt bike.
Ah, you said it.
I did say it. That's pretty cool, isn't it? And then Monday, Maintenance Monday, I'll show you how to build a wheel. I built my first wheel.
Yeah, that's a long video, that one, isn't it?
It is.
Woo! Gnarly dude, is what you say, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe it is, actually. Not quite up there with Nikolai Rogatkin, but still. 2 extremes in one GCN show. That's pretty good, isn't it?
It is. Well, I'm afraid, though, that the GCN show is over for another week. If you've enjoyed it, please give it the thumbs up just down below. And if you haven't yet subscribed, you can do so right now by clicking on the globe.
Yeah, and if you're after some more content now, do not worry. There's plenty for you out there, including a Power to Max factory tour. Basically, how not to make a power meter, because they asked me to do it, and I failed miserably. That one's just down there.
Or in the top corner, you can find my report from the latest indoor training tech at Eurobike, including a Wahoo product that simulates climbs.
Draft legal triathlon races used to be almost exclusive to the elite athletes, but now they're open to the age group competitors too. As of 2016, the International Triathlon Union have made the age group sprint world champs draft legal. So what is draft legal triathlon? Well, it's basically what I'm doing here. I'm drafting off our GCN test dummy, John Cannings. And whereas some races regulate how far you can be behind another athlete, in draft legal racing, you can get as close as you like. And by sitting in this slipstream and benefiting from the draft, you can save yourself a massive 30% in workload, which is quite a lot really. Put up the pace a bit, John.
Right, there are a couple of main differences when it comes to the equipment, and you're going to have to leave your beloved TT bike at home for this one. You have to ride a road bike like this one in draft legal racing, and that's because when you're riding in a group or close to others, you need to be able to react quickly and maneuver the bike easily. Road bikes are much better for handling, and getting to the brakes from the handlebars is much quicker than from some long aero bars. However, that doesn't mean you can't get yourself into a fast and aerodynamic position. Now, the elites can use some short clip-on aero bars like the ones on my bike right now, but the ITU rules currently state that you can't use them for age group draft legal races. But that said, they may well be introduced with time. It is relatively new to age group racing. So for now, you can still get yourself into a fast position by getting onto the drops and tucking down. Lastly, a small rule, but it could put a stop to your racing. Make sure your bar ends are plugged. They do fall out from time to time, so check prior to the race.
So the exciting element to draft legal racing is that it's unpredictable. You can't simply go to your ideal pace as you would in non-drafting. You have to go with the pace of others to an extent. So that means making bike packs out of the swim, so there's no hanging around in T1. Once you're on the bike, the aim is to form a group with others to share the workload. And the idea is that you travel faster than you would on your own by each taking a turn on the front and then recovering as you pull off. And if you're at the head of the race, you'll be wanting to maintain or even increase your lead. But if you're in a chasing group, you'll want to work together to close that gap. This sharing of the workload is called through and off, or better known as chain gang. Now, one rider should work their way through the group and then pull off at the front. But it's important that that rider eases off when they get to the front, so they drop themselves back and through the group. Now, if you're riding in a bigger group, when you get to the back of the group, you should then begin to accelerate to rejoin that line that works its way back up to the front. If you don't accelerate, you'll find it hard to close that gap again. Now, getting people to take a turn and do some work is easier said than done. And just sitting in and then surging through is only going to deter people from doing some work or even splinter the group. You're going to do some work then, John? This is getting a little technical now, but keeping an eye on the direction of the wind can make a big difference to the pace of the group. Essentially, the idea is that you protect the line that's coming through and driving the pace of the group. For example, if the wind is coming from the right, you'd pull off at the front into the wind side in a clockwise motion. And if it's coming from the left, you'd rotate anti-clockwise. Although you're all racing one another, you're working as a team in the pack, so communication is key. Try to encourage one another, call out if any gaps are opening, or if you need to change the direction you're rotating in due to the wind. And if you simply cannot take a turn, it's okay to momentarily sit a turn out and recover at the back, but do let the other riders know what you're doing. So there we go, hopefully that's got you up to speed with how draft legal triathlon works. And to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to GTN by clicking on the globe. And to see our TT versus road bike descending video, just click down here. And to see an essential bike skills video, just click down here. All right, John, do you want to do a turn now? Let's go.
I'm here at a rather wet and windy ITU Grand Final in Rotterdam, and behind me I have the elite bikes ready to go into T1. So I'm going to have a walk around and see if there's any weird and wonderful tech. I'm beside Richard Murray's new Specialized tarmac, and we've noticed that he's got the Ceramic Speed OSPW jockey wheels and chain for reduced friction. And we've also noticed that he has a new S-Works crankset, which is yet to be released, so we can't give you a whole lot of detail on that yet, but really interesting feature. We're here with Flora Duffy's Scott foil with customised paintwork on the forks and even her name and world champion on the rear stays. And she even has her clip-on aero bars for today's race. Maybe a breakaway happening, we don't know, we'll have to see. We're here with Belgium athlete Gilles Guines' Cervelo S5, and he has a 2-in-power crankset, and on that he has the carbon chain rings, which are a really cool setup. This is Rachel Klammer of the Netherlands bike, and what's interesting are the tubs that she's using. She has the Dugast 24mm tubs, which you actually normally see the pros using for classic stages where you have cobbles and bad conditions. which we have a lot of here. This is Jodie Stimpson's Specialized S-Works tarmac, and whilst it's not weird and wonderful tech, what's interesting is how a few of them have put their sunnies and their gels onto their bike, and this is really cool. She's put it with their elastics so she can whip it off coming out of T1 nice and easily. Right, we are here beside Richard Varga's Trek Madon, and to be honest, all we're interested in here is the paintwork. Check it out, Slovakian colours, very cool. This is Japan's Yuka Sato Cervelo R5, and here she's got the Controltech clip-on aero bars, but clearly she has run out of space for her bike computer. She's got the Pioneer bike computer here, so she has actually attached it from the top cap outwards, so she still has it on the bike and she can see it visibly. We're here with Jan Soluska of Czech Republic. He's warming up for the race, and he is on his S-Works Avenge, and he's got the clip-on TT Tri specialized tri bars. We have seen a lot of the athletes with clip-on tri bars here. They can't extend beyond the levers, but these are a really cool addition, designed specifically for the bike. Again, for the bad conditions and the surfaces here in Rotterdam, is we've got cobbles on a lot of the bike course. We found another athlete using 28mm tyres. We have Ashley Gentle of Australia, and she's using the Vittoria Corsa 28mm tyres. Here with Fernando Lazar's BH G7 Pro. It's rather striking paintwork. You'll definitely spot this bike in transition. We've also noticed with the conditions this weekend, a lot of the pros are opting for shoe covers or toe covers on the bike just to keep their feet warm, so they can run off without ice blocks for feet. I'm here with Andreas Salversberg of Switzerland's Specialized S-Works Avenge, and the thing that we've noticed here is the bike and junction box mount. It's really sleek. It's been designed by Specialized specifically for these handlebars and for the Venge. This is South African Gillian Sanders Scott Foyle, and in this women's race there seems to be quite a few using these clip-on aero bars, and here Gillian is using the Controltech Impel clip-on aero bars.
We've got para-athlete Lauren Steadman's Trek Madon with us today. Now, excuse a bit of dirt, because she has literally just won a silver medal at the ITU World Championship, so we'll let her off on that one. Unique thing about this bike, Lauren is a one-arm amputee, and she's only got the use of her left hand. So that means everything is controlled on the left-hand side, brakes and shifting. And it does mean for the brakes that when she puts on the brakes, it stops front and back simultaneously. Lauren's got the Dura-Ace Di2 electronic group set, and with that she's got the synchro shift, which means when she gets to the top of her cassette, the chain automatically drops off the big ring down to the small ring on the front and then drops down a couple of gears at the back to compensate. So Lauren also has the ability to move down on the front derailleur with this button just here, and she can move back up with the sprint shifter here.
So there we go, there's some interesting bikes and tech here from Rotterdam at the ITU Grand Final. And you can see more videos from us by clicking on the globe and subscribing to GTN. And to see our Draft Legal Racing Explainer video, just click up here. And to see our How to Swim Around Boys video, just click here.
There is a long-running debate in cycling about which handlebars are stronger, carbon or aluminium. Well, thanks to the experts at Controltech, we're going to settle this once and for all. We're going to look at two different types of strength. Strength over time, so resistance to fatigue, and then also impact strength. And to investigate, Controltech have very kindly given us access to their testing facility at their headquarters, which lies just behind this yellow door. First up, we've got fatigue testing, so how long a handlebar can stand up to extreme normal use. There is an international standard that all handlebars that are sold on the market need to withstand. It's called ISO 4210, since you asked, and it means that every handlebar has to go through 200,000 cycles. So 100,000 cycles of having a 280 Newton force pressing down on it, immediately followed by another 100,000 cycles of a 400 Newton force pushing and pulling on the handlebar, like we can see here. Now, Controltech actually, like many people in the industry, feel that the ISO standard doesn't quite go far enough, so they require all their handlebars to go through 400,000 cycles and with greater force as well. That's still not enough to break the bars. So what would happen if we left the machines running? we've turned the machines off. Controltech have pointed out that as an experiment, it's not a terribly good one, because actually from their previous research, it would take between 600,000 and 800,000 cycles for a carbon bar to break. That's 3 days non-stop. With an aluminium bar though, it's between 450,000 and 500,000 cycles, so significantly less. In fatigue testing, a carbon handlebar will last longer. However, what happens in a crash? Right then, this is where the debate really hots up. This is the reason why a number of pro cyclists still use aluminium handlebars as opposed to carbon handlebars, even though there's a 100-gram or so weight penalty. Because some people think that an aluminium bar is more resistant to impacts. So those kind of cataclysmic events like riding down a hill at 65 kilometers an hour and hitting an almighty pothole. They think that an aluminium bar is even less likely to fail than a carbon one. But will it? We're going to find out with this torture machine of choice. It's called a drop tester. And basically, we mount a 5.8 kilo weight. That's more than 5.8 kilos, I swear. We're going to mount one on either side of the handlebars and then drop them. Firstly, from 36 centimeters. Then, if they survive, from 48 centimeters, doing my maths. Then 60, 72, and so on. Which one is going to fail first, carbon or aluminium? I thought it had passed 60 centimeters, but when you look closely, we got a bit of crackage going on. Unbelievably though, you could have ridden that one out. Like, I thought that would be a catastrophic failure. If a carbon bar goes, in my head, it's gonna go. But look, that's still like, that's pretty good. You could hold on to that. But there we go, one on that side and a matching one on that side, all the way underneath. That was a big impact though, wasn't it? Ooh. Let's see how aluminium does. Well, there we go then. The aluminium handlebar has withstood 84 centimeters. And to be honest with you, we're going to give it a reprieve now. We're not going to take it any further because that is an almighty impact. But let's put this into context as well. The carbon handlebar going at 60 centimeters, that too is the kind of impact that you would never ever normally encounter on the road. So both, we've got to stress, are plenty safe enough to road riding, but for ultimate impact resistance, the aluminium handlebar is clearly the winner. It's complex, but in essence, all materials have a fatigue life, whereby when they're subjected to repeated stresses that are less than would cause failure on a single application, what's called the yield strength, the material would still fail after a certain number of cycles. The stress will eventually cause tiny cracks to form at defects or stress concentrations like bolt holes or sharp corners. These cracks can then grow with continued use, which can ultimately result in the component breaking. Now, because of the way that aluminium behaves and hardens as it deforms, cracks form and grow in it faster and at comparatively lower forces. Carbon fibre, however, is more resistant to fatigue because it's much more difficult for a crack to form and grow through the complex microstructure of fibres and resin. Our test handlebars come out of Controltech's pretty extensive range of both aluminium and carbon fibre handlebars. The brand actually started out in the late 80s and early 90s making bar ends for mountain bikes. That's right, a brand very much off name, and they still make bar ends to this day, if you were wondering. Now, since those earliest days, the brand has actually moved manufacture from the US over to Taiwan, as has much of the cutting-edge research and also engineering. On the one hand, comparing the two materials is quite difficult. Controltech point out that you could create a handlebar that lasts almost to infinity on these tests out of either material. But what you wouldn't get out of that handlebar is one that was comfortable or particularly lightweight. You wouldn't want to put it anywhere near a road bike, let's put it that way, because the true engineering skill comes in making a bar that's super strong, super tough, but also lightweight. I mean, this aluminium one is just 225 grams. This carbon one is 169 grams. So we have an answer. The carbon handlebar is stronger, most of the time. Sometimes, however, the aluminium handlebar is stronger. I do think it's interesting that carbon has clearly a greater resistance to fatigue, whereas aluminium clearly has greater resistance to impact. Now, the question is, I suppose, what you do with this information. So this is kind of how I've processed it. You shouldn't look at a handlebar in isolation. It's one component of many that makes up your bike. Therefore, I think you need to buy what's appropriate to the rest of your bike. If you've got a super lightweight carbon fiber road bike, then it makes sense to put a nice lightweight carbon handlebar on there as well. It's in keeping with the bike. You also get that greater vibration damping as well. If, however, you're building up a really burly, heavy duty cyclocross bike, then it makes sense to stick an aluminium handlebar on there as well. And with the same breath, actually, you also shouldn't expect to be able to build up a featherweight 5 kilo climbing bike, stick an aluminium handlebar on there, and then have something that's utterly bomb-proof, because something else will be the point of failure, almost inevitably. And then the other thing to mention as well is that there actually isn't any question over the safety of either of these products. The tests that we've been running today are extreme, really extreme. And so there is no weight limit on this carbon handlebar either. It is perfectly suited to riding conditions. It's just that when GCN gets let loose in the lab, we want to break things. So there it is. Right, do make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Thank you to Controltech for their time, the use of their lab, and also for handlebars, which aren't very much good for anything now. Do also subscribe to GCN. To do that, just click on the globe. And if you want to watch a couple more videos, we've got an old one actually about which handlebars pros use, and then for one about handlebar shape, which is pretty interesting. Click just down there.